Siloam, from darkness to light. A biblical archaeology, sleep journey, an invitation to see. Welcome. Let your breathing slow. Let your muscles relax. Feel yourself settling into stillness. Tonight, we're journeying to a pool in Jerusalem, a place of water and light, a place where a man who had never seen anything, not the sky, not his mother's face, not the sunrise, opened his eyes and saw for the first time. This is a story about discovery, about archaeologists finding something that had been lost for centuries, about stone steps descending into water, about a miracle that happened on those steps 2,000 years ago. You don't need to hold on to every word. You don't need to remember each detail. Just let the story flow over you like water. Let it carry you gently toward rest. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. And let us begin our journey to the Pool of Siloam, the city of pilgrims. Picture Jerusalem in the 1st century A.D. Not the Jerusalem of today, with its modern buildings and paved roads and electric lights, but ancient Jerusalem, the city of the Second Temple, in the time when Jesus walked its streets. The city sits on hills, as it always has. Stone buildings cluster together, white limestone gleaming in the Mediterranean sun. Narrow streets wind between houses. The smell of bread, baking, of incense, of animals and dust and humanity living close together. But what makes 1st century Jerusalem remarkable? What sets it apart from other cities of the Roman Empire is the temple. The temple dominates the city. Rebuilt and expanded by Herod the Great, it's a structure of massive stones and gleaming white marble, decorated with gold that catches the sunlight and makes the whole complex shine like a beacon. From miles away, pilgrims approaching Jerusalem can see the temple rising above the city, magnificent and holy. And pilgrims come, thousands upon thousands of them, especially during the 3 great festivals, Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles, when Jewish law requires every adult male to appear before the Lord in Jerusalem. They come from all over the known world, from Galilee in the north, from the coastal cities, from across the Jordan, from Egypt and Syria, and Asia Minor, and Rome itself. Anywhere the Jewish people have settled, they come back to Jerusalem for the festivals. The city swells with visitors. The population might triple or quadruple during festival times. Every house with a room to spare becomes lodging for pilgrims. The streets are crowded. The temple courts are packed with worshippers. And all these pilgrims, all these visitors, need something essential before they can enter the temple to worship. They need to be ritually pure. The need for purification. In Jewish law, ritual purity is necessary for approaching God's presence in the temple. It's not about physical cleanliness, though that matters too. It's about ceremonial cleanness, about being in a state fit for worship. Many things can make a person ritually impure. Contact with a dead body, certain skin conditions, various bodily discharges. Even the simple act of traveling can make you impure, because on the journey, you might touch something or someone unclean without realizing it. The solution is ritual immersion, washing in a mikveh, a ritual bath, descending into living water, water from a natural source, not stagnant water, and immersing completely. Jerusalem in the Second Temple period is filled with mikvot, ritual baths. Archaeologists have found hundreds of them in the residential areas around the Temple Mount. Small private baths in houses, larger public baths, all designed for the same purpose: ritual purification. But some mikvot are grander than others. Some are public installations, large enough to accommodate many people at once. Places where pilgrims coming to Jerusalem for the festivals can purify themselves before ascending to the temple. And one of the grandest, one of the most important, is the Pool of Siloam. The pool at the end of the tunnel. Follow the water. Start at the Gihon Spring, outside the eastern wall of the old city of David, where water bubbles up from underground sources, cold and clear. The water flows into Hezekiah's tunnel, that remarkable engineering achievement we've explored before. 700 years old by the time of Jesus, still functioning perfectly, still carrying water through solid rock beneath the city. The tunnel runs over 500 meters, winding through the limestone, following its S-shaped path, and it emerges at the southern end of the city, in the Tyropoion Valley, at the Pool of Siloam. Siloam. The name means sent in Hebrew. Shiloh, water that is sent, water that is channeled and directed, water that arrives where it's needed. The pool in Jesus' time is not a small basin. It's a large public installation. A stepped pool with broad stone steps descending from multiple sides into the water. The steps are wide enough to sit on, to walk down comfortably, to allow many people to enter the water at once. The pool is fed by the water from Hezekiah's tunnel. Fresh water, spring water, living water in the ritual sense. Perfect for purification. And it's located at a perfect spot, at the southern end of the city, where pilgrims coming from the south would naturally arrive. Before ascending to the temple, they could stop here, descend the steps, immerse themselves in the clean water, purify themselves for worship. On festival days, the pool would be busy. Pilgrims gathered around it, waiting their turn. The steps crowded with people. The sound of water and voices. The sense of anticipation. Soon they would ascend to the temple. Soon they would enter the sacred courts. Soon they would worship. Picture it, the sun warm on the stone steps, the water clear and cold, men and women, in separate sections of course, descending into the pool, immersing completely, emerging refreshed and purified, children playing at the edges, vendors nearby selling items pilgrims might need. It's a social space, a gathering place, a threshold between the ordinary city and the sacred temple, between impurity and purity, between the everyday and the holy. A man born blind. Now picture a different scene. Not a festival day with crowds of pilgrims, but an ordinary day. The pool quieter, less busy. Near the pool, perhaps on the steps or in the area around it, sits a man. A beggar. He's been blind from birth. Never seen light. Never seen colour. Never seen faces or objects or the world around him. In the ancient world, Disabilities often meant poverty. If you couldn't work, you depended on charity. Begging was one of the few options available. And a busy place like the Pool of Siloam, with its constant flow of people, was a good spot for a beggar. People would have known him. He sat there regularly, perhaps, asking for alms, dependent on the mercy of passers-by. Some might have given him a coin or two. Others would have passed by without noticing. Still others might have seen him as a religious problem, a sign of sin, of divine judgment. Whose sin was it? His own? His parents'? Why was he born blind? These were the questions people asked about disability in the ancient world. They assumed suffering was always punishment. If someone was born blind, someone must have sinned. The man sits in darkness. He's known nothing else. He hears the world. Voices, footsteps, water flowing, the sounds of the city. He feels the warmth of the sun, the coolness of shade, the texture of stone and cloth. He smells bread, incense, dust, humanity. But he's never seen, never experienced light and colour and the visual beauty of the world. Until one day, a rabbi named Jesus notices him. Lost and found. For centuries, the location of the Pool of Siloam was uncertain. There was a small pool in the area, identified by Byzantine Christians and later by Crusaders as the biblical pool. Pilgrims visited it. Churches were built near it. It was accepted as the authentic site. But something didn't quite fit. The pool was small, too small to be the major public installation described in historical sources, too small to accommodate the crowds of pilgrims who would have used it. Still, without better evidence, it remained the traditional site. People accepted it. Guidebooks mentioned it. Tour groups visited it. And then, in the summer of 2004, something unexpected happened. The Jerusalem municipality was working on infrastructure in the area south of the Temple Mount, near the old city of David. They were repairing a sewage pipe. Mundane, practical work. Nothing to do with archaeology. Workers were digging a trench for the new pipe when they hit something. Ancient stones. Not just random rubble, but cut stones. Fitted together. Clearly part of a structure. Work stopped. The Israel Antiquities Authority was called in. Archaeologists came to look, and what they found changed everything. The discovery. Beneath the street level, beneath centuries of accumulated debris and later construction, the archaeologists uncovered steps. Broad stone steps, beautifully cut and fitted, descending in tiers. They followed the steps, excavated carefully, removing soil and debris that had accumulated over nearly 2,000 years. And the steps kept going, down and down, tier after tier. This wasn't a staircase leading to a building. This was something else. The steps were too wide, too broad. They curved, following the edge of something. A pool. These were the steps of a pool. A large pool. A monumental pool. As the excavation continued, the scale became clear. This was a major public installation. The steps descended on multiple sides, at least two sides, possibly more. The pool was large enough to accommodate many people at once. The stones were cut in the Herodian style. That distinctive masonry, with smooth faces and recessed borders, that characterizes construction from the late Second Temple period, from the time of Herod the Great and his successors. This was it. This was the Pool of Siloam. Not the small Byzantine pool that pilgrims had been visiting, but the actual, original pool from the time of Jesus. And it had been here all along, just a few hundred feet from the traditional site, buried under centuries of accumulation, hidden beneath the modern street level. What the stones tell us. The excavated pool is impressive. The steps are about 20 feet wide in the sections that have been uncovered. They're made of limestone, carefully cut and fitted. Each step is comfortable to walk on, wide enough to sit on, designed for people to use. The pool itself would have been about 200 feet on each side. A rough estimate, since the full extent hasn't been excavated yet. Parts of it lie under a modern road and an orchard. But what's been uncovered is enough to show that this was a major installation. The steps descend in groups, with landings at intervals. You could walk down to different levels, choosing how deep you wanted to go into the water. During dry seasons, when the water level was lower, you'd descend further. When the pool was full, you'd immerse near the top steps. The water enters the pool from Hezekiah's tunnel at one end. It would have filled the pool, creating a reservoir of living water. Spring water, flowing water, ritually acceptable for purification. The craftsmanship is excellent. The stones are well cut. The joints are tight. This was an important public work, built to last, designed to accommodate the needs of a major city. Archaeologists have also found coins in the accumulated debris, dating to the period just before the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. This confirms that the pool was in use during Jesus' lifetime, during the Second Temple period. The Pool and the Temple. The Pool of Siloam's location makes sense when you understand the geography of ancient Jerusalem and the path pilgrims would take to the temple. Pilgrims coming from the south, from Bethlehem, Hebron, Egypt, anywhere south of Jerusalem, would arrive in the lower city, in the Tyropaion Valley. The Pool of Siloam was right there, at the entrance to the city from this direction. After purifying themselves at the pool, pilgrims would walk up through the city, following a stepped street that archaeologists have excavated. This street, paved with large stones, leads upward, climbing the hill toward the Temple Mount. The street is about 2,000 years old, dating to the Second Temple period. You can walk on it today. The same stones that pilgrims walked on when they went up to worship. The same path that Jesus would have walked when he came to Jerusalem. The street passes by houses, by shops, by public buildings. It's lined with columns in some sections, creating a covered walkway, shade from the sun, and it leads up, always up, toward the temple. This was the pilgrim's path. Pool of Siloam for purification. Then the climb up through the city. Then the temple courts, the sacred space, the place of worship. The pool was the beginning of the journey, the threshold, the place of washing and preparation. Seeing the pool today, Today, you can visit the Pool of Siloam. The excavated portion is protected and accessible. You can descend the ancient steps, walk on the same stones that people walked on 2,000 years ago. The pool isn't full of water anymore. The water flow has been diverted for modern use. But you can see the structure. Trace the steps with your eyes. Imagine it as it was. Stone steps descending in tiers. Landings at intervals. The broad open space that would have been filled with water. The sense of public space, of communal function. And you can imagine the scene from John 9. Jesus and his disciples passing by. A blind man sitting on or near these steps. Jesus stopping, noticing him, doing something unexpected. The miracle didn't happen inside a building, behind closed doors, in a private space. It happened here, in public, at a pool where people gathered. The man born blind. Let's read the story together, slowly, from John chapter 9. Let the words wash over you like water. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming, when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the Pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed, and came home seeing. Pause there for a moment. Feel the weight of that last phrase. He came home seeing. A man who had lived his entire life in darkness, who had never seen anything, who had only heard descriptions of light and colour and faces, who had imagined but never known what the world looked like. He goes to the pool. He descends the steps. These stone steps we can still see today. He bends down to the water. He washes the mud from his eyes. And for the first time in his life, he sees. Imagine that moment. The first time seeing light. The first time seeing colour. The shock of visual perception after a lifetime without it. The overwhelming flood of information. Shapes, textures, movement, faces, the sky, the water, the stones. Everything new. Everything extraordinary. Everything a gift. The controversy. But the story doesn't end with the miracle. In fact, in John's Gospel, the miracle is just the beginning of a much longer narrative about sight and blindness, light and darkness, knowing and not knowing. The man who was healed becomes controversial. The Pharisees are upset because Jesus performed this healing on the Sabbath. Making mud and applying it to the man's eyes could be considered work, forbidden on the day of rest. They interrogate the man. They question his parents. They try to find a way to discredit the miracle. The man's answers are simple and powerful. Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see. They cast him out of the synagogue, excommunicate him, reject him because he won't denounce Jesus. and Jesus finds him again. "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" Jesus asks. "Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him." "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." "Lord, I believe," the man says, and he worships Jesus. Light and darkness. John's Gospel uses this healing as a meditation on spiritual sight and blindness. The man born blind receives physical sight, but he also receives spiritual sight. He recognizes Jesus. He believes. He worships. The Pharisees, who have physical sight, prove to be spiritually blind. They see the miracle, but refuse to recognize what it means. They see Jesus, but don't perceive who he is. Jesus says, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees nearby overhear this and ask, "What? Are we blind too?" Jesus replies, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains." It's a profound reversal. The one who was physically blind gains sight. Those who pride themselves on their spiritual insight prove to be blind. Water and sight. There's something beautiful about the fact that the healing happens at the Pool of Siloam. The pool is about ritual purification, about washing, about preparing to enter God's presence. But Jesus uses the water differently, not for ritual washing, but for actual healing, not for symbolic purification, but for real transformation. The man washes and he sees. The water becomes the means of miracle. John notes the meaning of the pool's name. Siloam means sent. The water is sent, flowing from the spring through the tunnel to the pool. And Jesus is sent. Throughout John's Gospel, Jesus speaks of being sent by the Father. "I have come down from heaven, not to do my will, but to do the will of him who sent me." The pool of sent water becomes the place where the sent Messiah performs a sign. The convergence of symbols: water, light, sending, sight. Reflections on seeing. We are all born blind in a sense. Not physically, perhaps, but spiritually. Unable to perceive spiritual reality. Unable to see God, to recognize truth, to understand what really matters. We stumble through darkness, thinking we see, thinking we understand, but missing what's most important. And Jesus comes as light. "I am the light of the world," he says. "Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." The miracle at the Pool of Siloam is a picture of what Jesus does for everyone who comes to him. He opens blind eyes. He brings us from darkness to light. He enables us to see what we couldn't see before. But like the physical healing, spiritual sight is a gift. We can't make ourselves see. We can't heal our own blindness. We can only go where Jesus sends us, wash as he instructs, receive the gift he offers. The blind man didn't understand how it would work. He didn't know why Jesus made mud and put it on his eyes. He didn't know what washing would accomplish. He just obeyed. He went. He washed. And he saw. Faith is often like that. We don't understand how it works. We don't see the end from the beginning. We just take the next step. We do what Jesus tells us. We trust. And in the trusting, in the obeying, in the going and washing, we receive sight. The pool testifies. The excavated Pool of Siloam testifies. It confirms that the Gospel of John knows what it's talking about. This isn't a story set in some vague, imaginary location. It's anchored in real geography, real architecture, real places. The pool existed. The steps are still there. The stones testify. But more than that, the pool points to something beyond itself. Like everything in John's Gospel, it's both literal and symbolic. It's a real place where a real miracle happened. And it's also a sign pointing to deeper truth. Water that is sent, light that comes into the world, blindness that is healed, sight that is given, all of it pointing to Jesus, all of it revealing who he is and what he came to do. Resting in the light. As you prepare for sleep, as you let your eyes close, rest in this truth. Jesus gives sight. Whatever darkness you're walking through, whatever you can't see, can't understand, can't perceive, Jesus is light. Jesus opens eyes. Jesus enables us to see what we couldn't see before. You may feel blind to God's presence, blind to his purposes, blind to the path ahead. But Jesus can open your eyes. Sometimes it happens in ways we don't expect. Mud on the eyes, instructions that don't make sense, a command to go and wash in a pool. But if we trust, if we obey, if we go where he sends us, we will see. The man born blind obeyed a command he didn't understand. He went to a pool, washed mud from his eyes, and saw for the first time. You may not understand how Jesus will work in your life. You may not see the path clearly. But if you trust, if you take the next step, if you obey what Jesus is asking of you, you will see. Perhaps not all at once. Perhaps gradually, like dawn breaking slowly, light spreading across the sky. But you will see. Jesus promises it. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. From darkness to light. The Pool of Siloam rests in Jerusalem, its ancient steps descending into emptiness now, no longer filled with water, but it testifies. It testifies that the gospel accounts are real, that John knew Jerusalem's geography, that the miracle happened in an actual place that we can visit today. And it testifies to something greater, to Jesus as the light of the world, to his power to heal, to his compassion for those in darkness, to his ability to open blind eyes and enable us to see. The man born blind washed in that pool and saw. He saw light for the first time. He saw faces. He saw the world. And most importantly, he saw Jesus. He recognized the one who had healed him. He believed. He worshipped. May we do the same. May we recognize Jesus as the light. May we believe. May we worship. Sleep now in the light. Rest in the knowledge that Jesus sees you, knows you, loves you, that he can open any blind eyes, that he can bring you from darkness to light. The stones of the Pool of Siloam remember. They remember the man who was blind, but now could see. They remember Jesus, the sent one, the light of the world. And they testify. After 2,000 years, they testify. Rest in this testimony. Sleep in peace. The light has come into the world, and whoever believes in him will never walk in darkness.